seats.
Let me turn the music off.
And the other thing I'm going to ask you is if you could put your phones on plane mode or shut them down. Thanks so much.
Wait, can you ask Sheila to turn this off for me?
Sheila,
Where's Sheila?
can you turn the music off?
Don't know.
You sound better than I do.
Press your phone and press pause. Press the home button on her phone.
Oh no, she's coming. I don't want to touch it because I'll do. There we go.
She do exactly what it says.
No worries. There we go.
Thank you so much. Just let me know if you can't hear me. Anyway, my name is Lynda Will, and on behalf of the McLachlan family, I'd like to welcome and thank you for coming to celebrate Sonia Adeline McLachlan, my aunt and my godmother, and a very, very special person to me. My mom and my aunt were very close sisters all their lives, and as a result, my cousins Wendy, Greg, Karen, and Glenn, my sister Sandy, and I grew up as one family. We spent our weekends, as kids, we spent our weekends at the farm with Bob and Gigi, having fun, building forts, tobogganing, skating, swimming. That's where we all learned how to do that. And helping Baba collect eggs and making pierogies. But in the city, my mom and dad both worked, and so Sandy and I spent a lot of time at Auntie Sonia's. I still remember her giving me advice on one of my first boyfriends. My aunt and I have always been able to have some great talks and visits, and I'll miss her for sure. So now I'm going to read the obituary that you may or may not have seen in the paper today. We are very sad to announce the passing of our beloved mother, Sonia Adeline McLachlan, on November 24, 2022. Sonia was born on September 4, 1929, to Paul and Justina, also known as Fanny, Stanley in Winnipeg. She spent her final days at Rivery's personal care home with her loving family at her side. She was predeceased by her parents, her husband of 52 years, Walter McLachlan, her cherished sons, Gregory and Glenn McLachlan, as well as her best friend and sister, Shirley Field, and brother-in-law, Peter Field. Sonia left behind a long lineage of children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Her surviving children are daughters Wendy and Len Samborski, Karen and Mark Maranek. Sorry, I might blow that one. Grandchildren Paul and Laura Samborski, Megan and Matt Pasternak. Again, hopefully I said it right. Justine Berry, Jordan and Deanna Smith, Madison Smith and Cole Suchuk, Amy and Mark Gracefo, Ashley and Phil Zetnick, Morgan McLachlan, and John Marynick. Great-grandchildren Dayton Wilson, Miley and Macy Pasternak, Zaid, Lennox, Harlow and Beck Zedek, Willa and Lusa Gracefo, and Sophia and Merrick Smith. Nieces Lynda Will, Sandy Pearson, Anne McLachlan, second cousin Mark Gotch, great nieces and nephew Jan Gervais, Jackie Larson, and Jared Gervais. Mom was the matriarch of the family, passing along good genes, amazing life skills, including cooking, cleaning, gardening, and all the skills needed to care for our families. Sonia was a brilliant and caring woman. She was born to care for her family and did it mostly with a smile on her face, sometimes not. She was fluent in English, French, and Ukrainian. She could have chosen any career, but instead chose to be the best homemaker that she could be. She took great pride in caring for her family and her home. Her recipes will be passed on for generations to come. She kept an immaculate home and garden, enjoyed shopping, knitting, and doing crossword puzzles. She was an avid reader, sometimes reading 2 to 3 books at a time. She loved cheering on the Jets, the New York Yankees, and the Blue Bombers. She went to all the grandchildren's recitals and sporting events, cheering them on louder than anyone else. She enjoyed concerts and traveling. Mom prepared us for the world, teaching us how to be honest, trustworthy, dedicated, loyal, to work hard, and to keep a clean home, how to prepare wonderful meals, and to love one another. She had a great impact on our lives in so many ways. There is not a day that will go by when we won't think of her and use one of her many skills she taught us. We'd like to thank the loving staff at Serenity Cove River East Personal Care Home, who made her final days comfortable and took such great care of her family as we stayed close by her side. Rest in peace, Mom. And now I'm going to call on Karen to come up to say a few words on behalf of herself and Wendy.
Thank you. Well, this is going to be a little long, but I don't get off and just stand in front of people and talk where they listen, so I took advantage. Wendy and I'd like to share a little bit about our mom with you today. I know you all know her, you know her perks and quirks and her personality. She was quite a personality. But I'm going to tell you anyways, because I hope she's listening. Our mom was a perfectionist. It was difficult to get high praise about anything from her. She was a compulsive and obsessive person and a worrier. She counted everything. If she were here today, she'd know how many people were here. She'd know the number of chairs and the number of tiles on the ceiling. And then she'd tell you them in different patterns and sequences. She just was crazy like that. Mom was very smart. People actually came to her, the neighborhood and family, for help all the time because they just figured she'd know. She spoke 3 languages fluently. It was bizarre. She was a walking encyclopedia. She read everything she could get her hands on, and she had many interests. Mom was impatient. I don't know, anybody recognize that? And if she had it in her mind to do something, it had to be right away. And if she needed help, you had to do it right away or she would find a way to do it. I mean, she carried couches by herself up the stairs because she couldn't wait 2 minutes. Mom was meticulous and rarely was anything done good enough in her eyes. We were always striving to please her and to do things up to her standards. She wanted us, I suppose, to do things right, or her way, I guess. Over the last couple of years, Mom would tell us she appreciated all the things that we did. Maybe we finally started to do something right. Mom was a great cook and would take on huge challenges like cooking a complete Chinese meal from scratch, and some of the neighborhood kids maybe, or women would come over for Chinese food, these huge meals. And Wendy and I would be stuffing egg rolls, and Mom would even, in those days you didn't have a young grocery, you didn't have all the Asian food in Sobeys. So she'd run to all these stores looking for the ingredients. Mom, in her wisdom, we're going to cherish forever, she wrote it out, her recipes in journals. For me, Wendy, to have this, even her handwriting is so special. So of course these will, be for the kids. Mom loved her plants and gardening. If you went over to her house in the summer, you'd often find her on her hands and knees in the dirt. And she'd count them, and measure between plants and it was really crazy. A few times Mom and Wendy would come with me to customers to plant flowers for customers, and it was just a way of having Mom participate and be with us. And she was a good worker too. I wish I could find workers like her. Those are very special memories, and Mom would feel like she was still feeling an important purpose. That was Mom's biggest sadness, was that she felt she had no purpose once she wasn't able to do things. It's just the saddest thing. Mom loved children, babies, puppies, and kittens. She never stopped talking about Heidi. Remember Heidi? Yeah, the family schnauzer we all grew up with. Even in her final weeks, she still remembered Heidi. We were so blessed to have grown up with Mom and Baba, who showed us how to make pita ham and hold. Many times we all get together and roll and pinch. I mean, I get so bad from doing that, you know. We've passed along these traditions to our children and grandchildren. This past weekend, we got together and made 750 pierogies to honor Mom. It was a beautiful day, and Mom would be so proud. Mom taught herself to sew and made us beautiful gowns and costumes without a pattern. That was in the days where you could still sew or knit something for your kids and they'd love it. No, not anymore. And she could mend anything. Just give it to Mom, she'd find a way to fix it. And she loved concerts and movies, and we made a point of going to cheap movie night at Garden City with her. Taking her to see whoever good was in town. Mom just loved, just as long as she was with us. It didn't matter what we did. She loved Josh Groban and Michael Bublé and Rainbow Stage. She really just loved being anywhere with us. Mom loved figure skating, especially in the days of Toller Cranston, Kurt Browning, Elvis Stoico, and Scott Hamilton. She put me in figure skating. It wasn't really my thing. I wasn't that really talented, but I won a silver for the city once. So it must have been not too bad. But I went skating when I was young, and this kid comes right up to me. Are you Karen Magnuson? Are you Karen Magnuson? Because I was spinning, you know, whatever. And I said, no, I'm not. And then my friend said, hey, Karen. Anyway, she loved going out to eat. You'll see in the presentation here, she's eating most of the pictures. So she was so thin, too, and lucky girl. She loved traveling and visiting Vancouver, New York, Toronto, Cancun, Alaska, Caribbean cruise, Orlando, Tampa, and many road trips through the States. When we went to Disney World, she went down. I wouldn't go near her. She went down the Tower of Doom. And like she was already like pretty old. Honestly, it was crazy. But this one time, Wendy and I were going to surprise Mom. And so we planned this trip to Boston. We were going to rent a car when we got there. And told Mom we were going to Grand Forks for the weekend. So we pull up in front of Mom's house and we go, she's in this old, awful red sweatsuit. And she's got hardly anything in her bag. I mean, we're going to Boston. You know, we want to have nice clothes and go to restaurants and stuff. So we had to tell her. She just ruined everything. You know, could never surprise her. It was always a big to-do. And anyway, so we had to get her nice clothes in her bag and get her changed and head for the airport. But it was the best trip. And it was the best trip because it was the three of us. And we just had so much fun. Mom was busy counting all the windows on the buildings. And I was busy jumping over every crack I drove over, so I had to jump over every crack. And Wendy just was enjoying it. She didn't care. She's got no quirks about her. Anyway, but it was just a wonderful memory. Yeah, this other funny story though. I took Megan and Justine to Miami Beach. And if you know where that is, I think it's somewhere around Stonewall, but it's like half an hour out of Winnipeg. And Mom and Wendy knew where we were going, and decided they were going to surprise me by coming there. Well, the surprise was on them because for some reason they zeroed in their GPS to Miami, Manitoba. And they drove all day. They had to stop for lunch, pee breaks, and then they finally realized, I think we're going somewhere wrong. Anyways, but they had a lot of fun doing it. Mom was one of the first people in the neighborhood, women, who had a driver's license. Part of the reason was because she was so independent, and Dad was on the road all the time. So with 4 kids that needed emergency help all the time, you got to have a car. So she had some of the greatest cars. She had a convertible Acadian that was just, the push button. It had push buttons. And Mom would take us to Grand Beach, take us to Park Royal. Anybody remember Park Royal? Oh my goodness, that was the worst day when they got rid of that. And and the neighborhood kids, like they all congregated to our house because, well, their mothers didn't want them, so they came to she'd feed them, and Peter Checkman was always coming to our place and having craft dinner because that's all he'd eat. Remember that, Larry? Oh no, Peter's here. Bring out the craft dinner. Anyways, just great times, and everything happened at our houses. We had incredible circuses in the back where we had these great things. I don't know, were they as great as I remember them? 100%, just so much fun. We had, in those days, the whole neighborhood played together, all the kids. We did kick the can, work your way up. We were either in the field or running through the neighborhood making trouble, throwing eggs at cars and all kinds of things. But Mom only used the wooden spoon on us a few times. It wasn't too bad. And when you come home when the lights go on, right? So, but if you were all the way by Troy skating in the wintertime and you couldn't get your skates off, that was a real big trouble. You couldn't get home when the lights went on because you couldn't get your skates off. So there she'd be waiting with the wooden spoon. She would. Anyways, the car, I don't know if anyone remembers, but my mom had a Cutlass Supreme, Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme red one, 2-door sports car. 442. Oh my goodness, could that thing go. And Mom taught me how to drive in that car. And, I didn't take instruction very easily back then. But we're driving down Selkirk, and I'm driving, and I have to pull in, because there's cars coming, so I pull in behind another car. But what do? Is I pull in right up to the car, instead of leaving room so I could swerve out, and Mom's, of course, saying something. I know what I'm doing, But she still let me use the car, and anyways, I want to confess that I was driving down McPhillips and stopped at a red light too quickly, and I hit the car in front of me with it. And so I just want to confess, Mom, that it was not Greg who did that. It was me. And Greg and Glenn are gone now too, so I'm free and clear. It took only how many years to confess to? Okay. Mom took very good care of us children. We were clean and well dressed. She had a mama bear spirit, defending us and going to battle for us when required. She was proud of us, but wouldn't tell any of us to our faces. We had to hear it from the neighbors. She saw us through many adversities, and we knew we could always rely on her. She always came through. Whenever something happened to one of the grandchildren that needed medical attention, and it happened, she would be right over and take us to emergency to stitch us, to get us chin stitched up, or crushed toe checked, or bent fingers, like, Mom, what do? And she'd be right over. So, Mom lived for her family and her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. They're what gave her the most joy. Even when her memory faded, a visit by one of them would light up her face, and she couldn't wait to get hugs and kisses. It was heartbreaking when she wasn't able to touch any of them during the past couple of years, until we were able to bring her out of the nursing home occasionally for an outside visit. She couldn't get enough hugs and kisses. We always expected Mom to go before Dad because she had all kinds of health issues, but she hung in there. But Mom lived on and recovered from many medical emergencies. We would rush to her bedside expecting to have to say goodbye so many times, and she would always get better and go home. She was such a strong lady, but it was dementia that had such a tragic effect on her and our family. Dementia sneaks up on everyone involved. Mom was showing signs of forgetfulness and change in personality, and that started a long time ago. I'm trying to figure out really when it started, but it's hard to know. We wish we'd realized then, because we would have handled things differently, just loving her instead of challenging her and getting into arguments. Dementia sucked that joy and peace and purpose out of her, and we wouldn't wish it on anyone. We hope Mom forgives us for being impatient with her, asking the same questions over and over again and not remembering things. And Wendy, last night you asked me what I made for supper. Don't ask me that ever again. Please. Because Mom, what are you making for supper? Oh, a little cup dinner. And then 2 seconds later, what are you making for dinner? Just so hard. Mom always talked about Baba and missed her so much. And during visits with Mom, she would tell us how she'd spoken to Baba on the phone and how Auntie Shirley had just visited her. Sometimes she would go down the hall looking for Auntie Shirley, thinking she lived down the hall. And it was sad that she was imagining these things, but at the same time, it gave us comfort, thinking our mom had them back with her sometimes. Some of our greatest memories are Friday night visits at our house with Baba, Auntie Shirley, and sometimes Duke's Mary. The reason I say Duke's Mary, I don't know if any of you know, but one time there were a lot of Marys. So everybody had a prefix that, like, she's Duke's Mary, she's Blackie's Mary, she's someone's Mary. So this one was Duke's Mary, where Mom would color Baba's hair and curl it. We'd watch Tommy Hunter, Andy Williams, and other typical shows at the time. We'll never forget that. Those memories we'll never forget. Surprisingly, the last couple of days before her last, Mom spoke only Ukrainian to us and the staff at River East. She stopped really speaking English. She spoke only Ukrainian. But it made us realize that Mom must have been born and been raised Ukrainian at first. Does that make any sense to you? Because that's all she spoke, and she spoke it like I never heard her speak it before. And it was sort of sad because here's Mom in her last 2 days, and she's speaking Ukrainian, and we can't understand her. It's really hard. What was she trying to tell us? But she walked in the door of her room. Wendy and I were sitting there, and she walked in, and she said, "Wendy, Greg, Karen, Glenn." It's just like, it's so weird. It's like her affirming your last. That was like really. And then she said, "I love you." But then I went to pick something up, and I leaned over, and Mom saying, she went like this. She just stopped me from falling. So sweet. So those are kind of neat little last memories. Anyways, Mom knew she was loved. We told her all the time, and we told her she could go. She had her permission to go. Wendy and I wish Greg and Glenn were here with us today to celebrate Mom and her life and to grieve together. We're grateful to have each other and our family and friends around us, and for all your love and support. In closing, I want to thank Lynda for emceeing this, because we couldn't find anybody better. Oh no, we couldn't find anybody else. No, she was going to do such a great job. Sheila Bennett for this great venue, and her staff on doing such a beautiful job. Floral Fix for the arrangement, and for you people for coming today. It means so much to us to come here and talk about Mom and hug each other and laugh about the old days. We love you, Mom, and believe you are safe in the arms of those who you love and miss so much, and we pray that we will someday be with you again. Thank you. Now I want to bring up Paul Samborski. He's the matriarchal grandson. And he's going to speak for the grandchildren.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Paul Samborski. I'm Sonia's first and, more importantly, her favorite grandchild. Those were her words, not mine. Of course, I say that in light, but I am the first of her 9 grandchildren. Outside of her husband and her children, we were the centerpiece of her life. She lived to please us. She lived to entertain us, and as you can tell by my waistline, she lived to feed us. My number one favorite all-time food, and always will be, Grandma's pierogies. They were unbelievable. They can't be topped. I can't even explain how good they were. The amount of time and work that is involved to make them is staggering.